So obviously, I played Killzone, and I didn't cotton on to the fact, because now when I listen to that character that you voiced, is it Rico?
Rico Vasquez.
Yeah, that. So when I listen to that character now, I can hear Blade in that character.
Right.
But when I played it the first time, had no idea that it was you. I didn't know it was the same person.
Yeah.
So first off, like my first question would be like, how did you get into voice acting and acting in general?
Well, let me take this little sign off. I got a sign that says record. See, I wanted to make sure I did it. I've done sessions before where I get like 20 minutes into it. And I go, oh man, I was supposed to record. I got into it when I was about 3 weeks old.
Really?
My mom said I could imitate the neighborhood dogs before I could speak words. So that was Nipsey down the street. That was Duke across the street. So I've always been into sound, and I came from a musical family. My mom played piano.
Yeah.
My dad played trombone, and then their parents were musicians, and so I've always been good at reproducing sound, and I've always thought of my voice as an instrument too. But I didn't know it at the beginning. I didn't know I got bass notes down here in my diaphragm. Yeah, down here. And then I've got my heart voice. Welcome to HSBC. Can we have your PIN number? And then if I go like this, I go, I've got the monster voice there that you use in trailers, like out now, in the trailer voice, there. And then halfway up, if you go, can you make this sound go, huh?
You asking me if I can do that?
Go,
huh? Kermit the Frog.
You had it, man. So yeah.
I could be a voice. I'm terrible. I've tried to do like voiceovers.
No, you just did it.
I'm
if you
terrible.
get the sound at the top of your palate, if you go, ha, try that.
No.
Yeah. You did it. Say,
no. Hello.
Welcome to Disneyland.
Did you voice Mickey as well?
No. I wish. It'd be Kerching, and then if you drop down here and you go, then you got Goofy. Oh, so you got Mickey up there, Goofy down here.
So you're good at impressions.
Yeah, and I used to get kicked out of class for mocking the teacher, and now I get paid for it, man. It's a beautiful thing. But to answer your question, how did I get into it? I got into music first. I started playing. That's electric bass over there, but I played a double bass as well. I started playing when I was like 19, 20. I had piano lessons forced down my throat when I was a kid, so I knew how to read music. And then I started seriously trying to be a professional musician when I was about 19 because I couldn't stand any other options. And I started doing comedy, like impersonations on the bandstand, like, hello, Dallas, singing like Louis Armstrong, baby. And then I started working up like little comedy routines with different impersonations of actors and stuff like that. And then I started doing some stand-up comedy, and impersonations were part of the stand-up comedy. And then I met some people that were into voiceovers. I think the first guy that I ever heard was that Gilbert Gottfried. You ever heard of him?
No.
He was Iago the parrot on Aladdin, the original Aladdin movie with Robin Williams. And he was working at the Comedy Store, and he goes, I just got paid $10,000 this morning for talking like a parrot. And I thought, man, I got to get into this. So I took some voiceover lessons in the States from a woman who used to be on staff at Hanna-Barbera. Her name was Ginny Tyler. And then right before I moved here in 93, I took a class with a woman named Susan Blue, who used to be one of the Smurfs, which is pretty cool because her last name's Blue anyway. So
yeah.
And then just took it from there. And then when I got over here, the music kept going, but the voiceovers took off because of my accent. So
I was going to actually ask as well. So what made you move to the UK? Because obviously you've lived here for what is it, over 30 years now.
Yeah, 1993.
That was before I was born.
Yeah, man. You were just an idea, a sparkle in your daddy's eye. But I was living in Los Angeles. I'm from Northern California originally, and I moved to Boston. I took up music there, and I moved back to L.A. Met my wife on a cruise ship. She was working in the casino, and I was working in the band. And she's from the UK, and she saw me across a crowded staff dining room and thought, green card. And so I married Jackie, and we had two kids over there. We were in the States for 11 years while we were together, and then I don't, there was some really bad riots in Los Angeles after the Rodney King trial. And I had friends that were like, "Oh, I got my guitar, I got my amp, I got my gun, I'm going to work," and I just couldn't never, I could never do that. I could never like have that moment of like, it's them or me, I gotta shoot somebody. And so I thought, let's go somewhere where it's safe. So it was more of a family move than, say L.A. to Droitwich. I live in Droitwich in Worcestershire. It's not a career move, but
Yeah.
it's like the universe took care of me for doing the right thing.
Yeah,
So,
because I wasn't sure if it was something to do with your career and other stuff, or
no,
if it was something else.
it
So
was love, baby. It was love, and I didn't want to raise. And the joke was, I when we had our second son, I've got three sons and a daughter. Unfortunately, my wife Jackie passed away in 2010, but
oh
before
no,
over here we had two more kids, and yeah, it was just I saw like after the Rodney King trials and everybody's all tooled up and. There was actually an ad in the, or not an ad in the paper. There was a local paper where a couple of kids at the local high school had gotten in a fight, and the next day one of them came back with his dad's 9mm and started waving around the classroom. And I thought, man, I got in so much trouble as a kid because I've always been sarcastic, impersonating people and stuff like that. It's like you do that to a gang member, you could get shot. So let's go try Droitwich, and
well, I mean, the
never
UK
look
is
back, man.
mostly the UK doesn't have any problems, so it's usually very very
Yeah.
nice to live in. I've never lived anywhere else, so
Yeah, I mean,
um,
the inner cities and stuff, and even around other places, there's a knife culture, but at least you have a chance to run.
yeah.
You know,
Um, I live in a small village, so for me it's very quiet. Not much really happens.
which one?
So I live in, do you know Warsaw? It's
Yeah,
near
yeah,
Birmingham. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I live in a little village called Pelsall in Warsaw.
Okay.
And I've pretty much lived here all my life. I've lived here in the same house. It's nice. I can't complain about this area. Obviously, Birmingham and stuff and Warsaw. There's a lot of rough areas, but for me, with where I live, it's very very nice, very homely. Like if you try to buy a house here now, it would cost you a lot of money. So for me, I can't complain about my position.
Right.
So I was gonna, obviously you voiced a lot of, popular characters, like Carl Fairburn, which is funny because one of my good friends is an absolute fanatic about Sniper Elite. He absolutely loves it. And when I told him that I was doing this interview with you, because I mainly wanted to tell him that, you voiced Blade in the game that I play all the time. And he made a sarcastic joke. I said, "Is there anything you want me to ask him?" And he said, "Yeah, tell him for them to bring back rocks." 'Cause,
Rocks.
yeah, I'm assuming that you throw the rocks to alert
Oh,
people, and they
okay.
got rid of them in the new one.
Well,
But I
you
don't.
tell him.
You're not in the
I'll
new one though. You're not
I'll
in
try.
Resistance, are you?
Is that the one with the English guy?
It's the one
It's
after
like
5.
like a Jason Statham voice.
You could probably do a Jason Statham voice.
No,
You
no,
could do
no,
anything.
oh, Dave Stokes dead. But anyway, no, that's not me. But if tell him if I get a chance, I'll put that in there. I still haven't been able to get very far in Sniper Elite 5. During lockdown, I played 3 and 4 over and over and over, and I just loved it. And then I got to 5, and they changed so many things in 5 that I was like I'm a grumpy old fart. I don't want to learn the new techniques, and I've never liked grappling. I've never liked sneaking up on somebody and cutting their head, or anything
Yeah,
like that. I always like long range, and retreat back to where I know it's safe, and then re kind of structure my attack, that sort of a thing.
yeah.
So,
So
but I'll tell him, I'll have a word.
yeah, tell him to bring back the rocks.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you got into Sniper Elite specifically, that previous to V2, there was the first game, and obviously the first game it was a different voice actor. So how did you come to get that role in V2 as opposed to the person who voiced him in the first one?
I I was down at Rebellion doing a different game,
Oh
and
really?
they said
Which game was that?
I can't remember.
Oh,
I can't remember. I think I might have done Alien versus Predator there.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and which was great. You know, it's like here the predator is like he's reaching down your throat and ripping your guts out through your mouth. So a little more of a gurgle, please. Yeah, oh yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Crazy stuff, man. But I think I don't know, because I've done quite a few things for Rebellion, and somebody came in and asked me if I wanted to test for Sniper Elite, and I think there was a few guys that they've been doing, and so I just kind of sat back into my lower tones down here and just kind of gave them a bunch of flat stuff, and they went, yeah, a little bit less. Okay, man, just get a little bit closer to the mic. That's it. There's somebody on top of that building over there. I can use this grass for cover. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
It's very good, very good voice. So yeah, so obviously for me personally, I did play V2 when it came out, but I didn't get very far. Sniper Elite has always been one of those things where, like, obviously it's really cool with the the penetration shots where you can see skulls bursting and all that. It's very cool, but for me, I'm not really much of a stealth person, so I'd be there trying to like just go guns blazing, and it doesn't really work very well. So
Yeah.
I could never really get into those games specifically, but it's very popular. Would you say that that's your like defining role out of your career? Is Carl Fairburn?
It's the one that's had the most longevity in games.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still doing games. I'm doing some. I just did like a RoboCop.
Oh yeah, the unfinished business DLC. I saw that was.
Yeah, I did some of that, and then but as far as something where I was the main character and I got to keep doing it on and on and on. That's definitely the one I've had the most longevity in.
Yeah. Is there any roles that you found difficult? Like,
Yeah, I think sometimes when you get multi characters, that's the thing. It's like my son and I have done a lot of mocap together. We did a lot of mocap for the Rocksteady when they were doing the Batman games, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. There's another one. There's three of the Batman games that we worked on, and most of the time, what we were doing were just placeholders because all the contracted actors were in L.A. Mark Hamill was the Joker, and I forget the guy, Brian something, the voice of Batman.
oh,
Is it Brian Conley or
I literally know this because the Batman Arkham games are like my favorite games.
yeah,
And I'm how am my brain farting his
yeah.
name?
It'll come to us in a minute.
Yeah.
But anyway, what we would do is we would put on the cat suits with all the bumps on them and stuff like that, and we would act out these scenes, and then we would do
Oh, Kevin Conroy. That's
Kevin
it.
Conroy. There you go.
There you go.
So he and Mark Hamill and the other people that were like contracted, they had it easy, man. They would just come in and do like a karaoke to what we'd already put in place. The game teams would put together the bulky movements of us running around, hitting each other, and doing all the actions. And then I would do a session where I would have dots on my face, and I would say specifically what Batman said. And sometimes I did Joker. Sometimes my son did Joker. My son, most of the time, he did the body movement for Joker because they really liked the way he moved around. And then they would send that to L.A. and it was actually all lined up. All they would have to do is be the karaoke it and just like match what I said, but they would never want to. Kevin wouldn't want to say I wouldn't say it like that, so he would do it a different way. And same with Mark Hamill. And they'd send it back, and then they'd get me back in to put the dots on and say it with exactly the same rhythm as them. And so that's another thing in my life that music has had a very important part in, because I could see the sound waves, and where I would have said, "Watch out, man, he's behind that rock." He might go, "Watch out, he's behind that rock." So I could see ba-doop, ba-da-do-do-do down below.
Yeah.
So I could match those, and they don't teach you that in acting school, man. It's like you get thrown in the deep end. And I think also To answer your question, about what's the most difficult, I think I got thrown into that when I first got into voiceovers back in 1985 when I went to the class with Jenny Tyler. She liked me and she started using me for her projects, and she had projects dubbing Japanese and Russian cartoons into English, which were complete opposite speech patterns.
Yeah.
So it's like, watch out, he's over there in Japanese, and in Russian, I just did something, a Russian translation into a game. I don't think I'm supposed to tell anybody about it, so I'm not going to say what the name of it is. But the Russian is so much longer than the English translation, man. It's crazy. So we're like making up bits and stuff, and trying to keep it cohesive.
Yeah,
so I did that right at the beginning. You've got to look at a page, then you've got to look up at a screen, and then you got to realize that you've got to bridge the gap between that, and then also make it sound like it's real instead of me reading something.
It's funny that you mention the speech patterns being different, because I obviously, when we spoke on the email, I'm mainly known for being a speedrunner. So I'll take a game and I'll beat it really fast and stuff like that. And that's why Blade 2 is one of my main games that I speedrun. And obviously when you talk about speedrunning as well, different languages can make the game either faster or slower depending on if certain dialogue is tied to progress. If it's faster, then it will go. So usually stuff that's long is usually not faster. Usually it's Japanese or sometimes Dutch. Most of the time it's English. It's very rare that it's not, but so for me, I don't know how much you remember about Blade, how much you were involved in the game, other than if you just went to a studio, they gave you a script, you read off the lines, and then you left. I don't, that's what you know.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So
but I auditioned from home, and the guy had no idea what I looked like, and that was the funny bit. Because
when you look at you don't see a Wesley Snipes kind of Blade thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, half the things that I did, that and Time Splitters and Killzone. I mean, Killzone, and I get the whole Black Lives Matter thing. I get it, but it kind of went ridiculous after lockdown, because after that it was like, we want a Turkish accent, but it's got to be Kurdish from one of the tribes in the northeast of Turkey or something like that. They could be that specific about the type of voice that they wanted for different characters. Yeah. And so with Blade, I had some lines to mimic, and I always remember that open season and all suckheads, opens down here, kind of nasty stuff. And so I listened to it, got it in my head, and then I reproduced it, sent the file to this guy, and then they say, "Come on down, you got the gig." And I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I don't know, I think it was in White City or real near like the BBC White City, the studio down there. And the guy comes in, he looks at me, looks around, walks back in the thing. It's like 10 minutes before the session's supposed to start. I'm just sitting there. And then he comes out 5 minutes before, and he looks there, and he looks at me again and goes back in. The third time he comes out, he goes, "Tom?" I go, "Yeah, man, it's me."
Because you don't look like it. Because obviously, when I originally realized that it might be you that was the character, when I looked it up, I was like, this guy does not look like what you would expect a person that voices Blade to look like. And obviously that's not anything bad. It's just when you hear Blade, when you hear some of the voices that you've done, like Cortez in Time Splitters and Enrico Velasquez, you don't sound anything. Those characters don't sound anything like what you actually look like. So for me, I kind of expected someone different, but that's not a bad thing. That's
crazy how we have to beat around the bush.
Yeah, but that's testament to you, to how good you are as a voice actor, is that you can make people believe that you actually look like that when you don't. So for Blade specifically, I had the privilege of the past like 4 or 5 years, I became really good friends with one of the developers of the game. His name's Tom Forsyth, who's got the same as you. And I spoke to him trying to see if I could figure out who the voice actor was for and he said that he doesn't, obviously because it was a long time ago, you wouldn't know or remember, especially if your name wasn't listed correctly in the credits. So I've spoken to him a lot. I've spoken to him about the game, and he's watched me do speedruns of it. He also did commentaries for me because I've done speedrun marathons. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Games Done Quick.
No.
It's like a really popular speedrun marathon I do to raise charity, and I ran Blade 2 for that, and that was one of the best things that I've ever, had the privilege of doing. And I had Tom commentate with me. Obviously,
Great.
people enjoy the talking about how the game was made and all that. So, it's been a big part of my life. It was one of the main games I remember playing the most when I was a kid. So to be able to, because obviously you're like, you probably bet you don't care about that game like such a long time ago, such a small game, because Blade doesn't talk much. So in that game for you don't have much dialogue in a lot of places. It's mostly Whistler that talks in that game. So for me to be able to be sitting here with you talking to you is amazing, just because of the fact of how much that game means to me. Like I've got all of these. I've got 4 copies of the game.
Wow.
So this one's French. So you're not in this one, unless you did the French voiceover as well.
No, I did not.
So this is French, and obviously, these 2 are the English version here. So these are the ones you're in, and then this one's also French. And also have the promo copy as well, which is basically the same. But so I don't need more than 4. I've only got the other 2 because obviously 2 Xbox, 2 PS2. The other 2 are just French, because speedrunning, I like to have different variations of games. But so like, is there anything for you specifically when it came to Blade? Because there's one thing that sticks in my head from Blade. It's so small, but every time you finish a level, Blade will do a fist bump and he'll go, huh! Like that. Can you do that? Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Not a James Brown.
No, it's like a really deep huh! Like that. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly it. Do you remember? Do you remember like any specific like things to do with that game, like that you remember doing or that you remember saying? Because I know you said that you don't remember much, but like
No. There's what are like the special moves that he can do? Can he slide down a banister?
No, you can't do much.
Flip, forward flips.
You can do those.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really make any noises. I don't think when you're fighting.
I think a lot of that, it's like when we do these games, you'll say, okay, we got some walla for you. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Walla, Walla. And they used to call it Walla sessions, where you walk in and there's a crowd of people. He's going to record the voice. They're going to cattle somebody acting like I'm talking or something like that. Or Walla is like different. Blade pissed off. Blade surprised. Blade this, Blade that. So they would get like a series of emotions for different situations. Absorbing a short punch. A really deep one to your gut. Knife in the side.
You're really good at that.
Bullet in the head.
Yeah. I don't think Blade did any of that though. I don't think he had any
Well, he did have some walla as far like the thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
like,
also, yeah, it would just be punching and kicking and stuff.
Yeah. So I do have a list of questions. I'm just going to skim through them because I've been trying to like go off the top of my head, but that doesn't go very far. So obviously, voice acting today is a lot different than it used to be.
Yeah.
I guess you do sometimes just sit in a booth if there's no, motion capture. But obviously, it's so. Did you remember like how your first experience was for voice acting compared to the way it is now? Because obviously, I'm assuming with Sniper Elite you did motion capture for that, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
None of them.
Did I? I don't think I did motion capture for Sniper Elite. Definitely for Killzone. Killzone, we had There's a big studio down at the Hogarth Roundabout in London, and so we all suited up and did different scenes, all the cut scenes, and then the same. And I did all of Killzone 2 as well. But what we were talking about earlier about me not looking like the role that I'm playing, that started to be an issue with somebody in Killzone 2. Somebody from LA was coming over and they're looking at me and they go, "That's Rico, man," you know. And so they replaced me with a different guy, and the fans complained. So actually, me and Sean Pertwee we had like an extra session, like a bolt-on added content session after that, you know. But I mean, anything that it's just like I've always been kind of a chameleon as far as whatever it takes. I'm going to try to find the sound for it. I'm going to try to find the accent for it. I'm going to try to find the inflection to it. And I've never done it with any disrespect to any other ethnicity or anything like that. I've always done it as like, this is a challenge to sound like this person or sound like that. And I'm not taking the piss, but I understand how people, if the business starts getting lopsided, people trying to sound like somebody else who actually looks like that, who's qualified for that,
Yeah.
I've got no problem
Well,
with
to
it.
me, it's just testament to you and the vocal
Yeah.
range that you can do. I think that's more of an achievement than it is like something that's bad. Like that you can do those things, and if your voice sounds right for a character, then why wouldn't you pursue that? Because I feel like now, like you mentioned, we're in a day and age where you can't, snap your fingers without someone thinking that something's wrong. And I obviously, because
And
I
there's
grew
also
up in.
a parasitical society going on now too, because like you're doing something, you're doing these speed games, and you're making money for charity, and you're putting stuff out there, hoping that you get people to watch, so you can get higher ratings to go and do more stuff for other people's benefit. But
Yeah,
there are other people that are doing nothing but just sitting back taking pot shots at people that are doing something. And I accept that as part of life, but I just always hope, because for me, I'm so lucky I'm a musician too, because my voiceover career has gone like that. My acting career has gone like that. But I've always, as a bass player, man, I can always gig. And it's
yeah,
never as good a money, but it's what is soul satisfying for me, and yeah, and it's so well done for you for finding something you're passionate about it and pursuing it, and we've just got to take our lumps where they come from people that are just sitting on the sideline taking pot shots, because
yeah,
that's never going to change, man. And the way the world is right now, there's a principles before personalities is what I'm going on. People,
yeah,
what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm going, principles before personalities. What's the reason this is happening? What do I
yeah.
feel is the best thing for humanity? Not for like that political party, that country, that religion, any of that stuff, man, because most of it's out of our hands anyway.
Yeah, we're basically just going to destroy ourselves at this. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, I grew up in a time where computers and gaming and phones and all the internet stuff was starting to become. But I remember, obviously, when I was younger, it wasn't as big of a thing. So I miss not having like the internet being like a huge part of your life, because I feel like for someone like me, obviously you don't know me, but I suffer with agoraphobia and anxiety. I've had, I suffered with chronic vertigo for a while. For the past 4 months, I've been really ill. I was in hospital
Oh my.
because I thought I was dying. Thought I had a brain tumor. I was spiraling. So I took paracetamol. I had an MRI. There's nothing wrong. And it's one of those things where you're in. I feel like the world that you're in, for me, is the reason why I ended up being the way I was. Because when I was a kid, I could go out. I could, socialize and do all these things that when I started to grow up and I realized what life was going to be like and the way it is with like things like I was stuck inside on social media, games, computers. I kind of like drew back from life. So for me, doing this now with you, if it had been a 5 or 6 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it, because I
Right.
really struggled to talk to people that I didn't know and to try and be myself. I would think in my head about like, how am I going to act? What am I going to say? Is it going to be normal? Am I going to look like an idiot? I'm
Yeah.
worried about that stuff. But you know, I've come to terms with the fact that now, after what I've been through the past 4 months, because I was basically stuck, I couldn't move, is that I don't care. Why should you care what someone else thinks about you, about the type of person you are? You just got to, you know, like, hit it in the head and just do it. And you know, I'd literally just started to feel a bit better when I found out that you were the voice actor, and you know, I took that gamble of seeing if you wanted to do this interview, and you did. And for me, you know, like this morning, for example, I was thinking about maybe cancelling because I woke up and I felt really dizzy and it wouldn't shift. But I've had some other issues with my ears and tinnitus and stuff like that. So it's all like part of it. But you know, to be able to speak to you, who, you know, voiced that character that's meant, because Blade, not even just you, but Blade as a character in general is one of my favorite characters of all time. So, you know, being able to speak to you, who's done that voice, is great. And I don't know if you know, maybe don't look up, but I actually made a fan-made Blade 2 remastered. So,
All right.
so I basically upscaled all the textures in the game. I redid Blade's outfit from to look more like, you know, because obviously in the game it was kind of bluish and look weird. I made it like way it's meant to look, which on emulator translates better. Obviously on console it would look really dark, but you know, on modern computers playing on emulator it looks fine. And that was a big passion project for me, and people seem to really enjoy it. It actually got a lot of downloads, and yeah, I kind of wish that I had waited, because all I did was do upscaling. If I'd have waited, I kind of wanted to do all the textures from scratch myself, to obviously make them look really good. But now I've already put it out. Like, I put it out about a year and a half ago. Now that I've already done that, so what's the point? I can't do Blade 2 remastered.
Yeah.
Or
So what's it called?
so it's called Blade 2 Remastered.
Okay.
There's there's a trailer on YouTube.
I'll check
But
it
it looks so good.
Yeah.
It looks like a native PC game. So for me that was fun. I got to do that. But you know, let me have a look what else I got for because I did have some questions specifically about Blade. Oh yeah, so like with Blade, for example, obviously when you did that movie tie-in game, did you take any inspiration from the way Wesley Snipes would talk for that role, or did you just kind of do your own thing with it? Oh, you did?
Yeah. I listened to him a lot. And
I think it does resonate. You can tell it's not Wesley Snipes, but it does.
They must have sent me at least 10 to 20 lines for me to listen to. So
Yeah.
I got the basic rhythm and delivery from that, and then I just tried to get as close as I could. And then once you start going through this stuff, you can't refer back for every line that you do, and a lot of it isn't what you've already been given anyway. But you've kind of got that template in your head, and that's what you know, voiceover stuff. You know, it's in the style of, you know, like they say, I want you to do something in the style of Clint Eastwood, and I said, which Clint Eastwood? Do you want Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood, or what's that, something Ridge, or Gran Torino Dirty Harry? Well, give me the Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood. So he's kind of down here, punk. It's just sitting there, that sort of a thing, and never gets bugged about anything. Everything's nice and slow, that sort of a thing. So you get enough templates in your head about how, you know, or Woody Allen.
I would never belong to a club that would have me as a member. I wouldn't just so neurotic and fast, sort of a thing.
You know, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because like Wesley Snipes, obviously
Glad
he's done different stuff. So obviously prior to Blade, I'm pretty sure he did like Demolition Man, which is very over the top and
Yeah.
crazy character. And then you go to Blade, who's just very like the same. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't. I mean, obviously he does get angry, but he doesn't. It's mostly like just, you know, it's the same level of calm. Yeah. So you have to kind of, you know, keep that same tempo in your voice when you're doing that character. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, with Blade, for example, it wasn't a very well received game. no one. Mainly, they complained about the combat and how the hand-to-hand combat worked. And it because it wasn't very well received, even though it did sell relatively well. It ultimately caused the company to get shut down because they couldn't pitch anything else after it. So,
Oh.
for you, do you look back at that role and feel some sort of resentment to it, or are you glad that you did it? Do you? Because obviously, is that the only really licensed movie time game you've ever done, or have you done any more since that?
What do you mean licensed?
So license means, for example, it's a movie time, so it was made to tie in with the movie when that came out. So license is like, I don't know, for example, any game that follows like a certain source material. So it could be a game that's based on a book. That would be a licensed game.
Yeah.
A TV show, stuff like that.
Are the Batman games licensed?
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah, so I've done those. I've never done them as main characters, but a lot of the what do you call it? Side characters. I've done those in
You could have made a good Two-Face listening to
Yeah.
the voice. Yeah.
and I'm a Gemini, so I'm two-faced anyway. Roses are red, violets are blue, I'm schizophrenic, and so am I. You know.
Let me see what else.
Nice guy. Mean guy.
So, am I okay? So, putting the Lego game that you did aside, because when I listen to that Blade, it doesn't sound anything like the Blade you did in the 2002 game. But have fans, apart from me, have fans ever mentioned Blade to you specifically? Have they ever reached out to you about Blade?
No, not really. Most of the time, the ones I get the most traction for is Time Splitters
Yeah.
and Witcher and Sniper Elite. And then, like, I was in Horizon Zero Dawn, but just, not a big enough character to get bugged about that one. And then some of the quirky games, man. I did one, Space Channel 2 or something.
Oh
Planet,
yeah.
where, hey, go left, go right. It's Mr. Disco sort of a thing, And that was a cool game because it was a Japanese company, and they paid for me to fly to LA to do a session just before lockdown, August 2019. I went to LA and did something for them. But I did Comic-Con for a while, and I have a problem with saying, "Hey, enough about me. What do you think about me?" That sort of vibe of going to Comic-Con. Here's some pictures of some stuff I've done. Well, here, give me some money and I'll sign it. And here's some. I did a cartoon on Netflix called Robozuna, and one of my characters, Mangle the robot. They did like a Mangle character, so you got like your little toys out there, and it's trying to get the parents to buy it for the kids, and they're going, "Come on, get out of there," and I just wasn't cut out for it, man. And so I quit going to Comic Cons. But I've seen some of these game cons where people that go there are like yourself. Okay, if it was something to do with Witcher, you would come talk to me. It wouldn't be like, do I even want to talk to this guy? And the same thing with Blade. And the same thing with guys that are into Witcher, the same thing with guys that are into Sniper Elite or that other stuff. So I'm considering getting some merch together and trying to do some of those,
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, for me personally, obviously, the Blade is what my main focus was on because that's what resonated the most with me, and I wanted to talk to you about that. But obviously, but from an outsider, I think Sniper Elite would be the one thing that I felt like people would want to talk to you about because it's not five games, but most like 4 games, right? So you did 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's 4 games that you did.
Those zombie games.
Oh yeah, the zombie army games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let me see. Oh yeah, so so you've done live action. You had a small role in the Fantastic Beasts films as well. Is there any other like films that you've done that stand out to you, whether it's a small role or a big role?
Well, the best film for me ever was a long time ago. It was called Churchill: The Hollywood Years, and it was director Peter Richardson, who he was like buddies with Rick Mayall. and Rick Mayall was in the movie, and a whole bunch of really great English comedians. John Colshaw played President Blair. They called Tony Blair, called him President Blair, and the whole pretense, I don't know if that's the right word, is that the Churchill wasn't really the fat guy with the cigar. It was an American superhero played by Christian Slater, and the Queen is Neve Campbell, and I'm their illegitimate son. They had me, and then I come over to find out how come my dad didn't get the dues he deserved. They gave it to this after dinner speaker named Roy Bubbles, who's like the Churchill, and it's hilarious, man. It's a funny, quirky movie, but it didn't do that well in the cinemas. Churchill: The Hollywood Years. Check it out. And then
I will, because I've never heard of that film, so I will
yeah,
I will have a look.
It's on. You can buy it on Prime, for a couple of quid. And then, but yeah, the same time as I did Fantastic Beasts, I did another one called Denial with Timothy Spall and Rachel Weisz. And I'm in the first 5 minutes of that one too. You blink and you miss me. And then there's another one. Oh, The Amateur, Rami Malek. Like in the first 10 or 15 minutes of that, he hides some information in a bar, and I'm the bartender, and I say, "Hey, you gonna be all right here while I close up the back, man?" So it's I think my acting career would be called Blink and You Miss Me.
I mean, all those stars you mentioned, like Christian Slater and all that, Rami Malek. You must have obviously, because you've been around the block. You've obviously met a lot of pretty famous people over the years as well.
Well, I've got a great picture with Clint Eastwood. When Clint Eastwood did a movie on the life of Charlie Parker. You ever heard of Charlie Parker?
No.
He's a saxophonist. You ever heard of Dizzy Gillespie? Trumpet player. So they were kind of the founders of a style of jazz called bebop.
Yeah.
That kind of like took off after the big band stuff in the 50s. And so there's a movie called Bird. And Clint Eastwood has always been a jazz lover. So he directed this movie. And I've got a picture with him, and I was in one of the bands that was playing in this club, supposed to be in New York, but we're in LA. And he walks by and he goes, "How you doing, kid?" And I go, "Oh, hi, Mr. Eastwood. Can I get a picture with you?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." And then he walks off, and he's like doing the lighting, and he's talking to the sound guys. He's doing all this stuff. He's busy, man. And he comes by again, and I've got the camera. And I go, "Oh, I can take it." And he goes, "I'm kind of doing something." And I said, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Eastwood, you're Dirty Harry," and I give him the thumbs up. He goes, "Go ahead." And so there's this picture of me like him and him just being cool.
Yeah.
And, I've always been obnoxious, and I've always had a camera. Because as a musician, I used to do a lot of gigs where there were like celebrities there too, like Frank Sinatra. I've got a great picture of him looking annoyed with me, like giving me a dirty look. But anyway. Yeah. So to answer your question though, Churchill: The Hollywood Years, that's about it. If you put on the latest Family Plan 2 with Mark Wahlberg.
I don't think I've got it.
Family Plan, Mark Wahlberg, it turns out he marries this woman and they have some kids, but it turns out he's an ex gangster, and they go on all these adventures and stuff. And Family Plan 2, there's a thing where there's people after him chasing him all over Europe and stuff, but it opens up with a Thanksgiving dinner. And originally I auditioned for the part of his wife's father, and I got a couple of lines to deliver to her, and I lost it out to a friend of mine who I often lose out gigs to. We always compete for the same roles. And but they said, "Hey, would you like just an improvisational role?" And so it's going to be all American actors based in the UK sitting around having a Thanksgiving dinner. Pass the peas. Oh yeah, give me some more wine. Like grandma's had too much booze. Blah 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 blah. That sort of thing. Watching the football. Go get them, or something like that. So I dare you to find me in the first 5 minutes of Family Plan 2.
I'll have a look, see if I can I spy. So do you
Mostly
prefer?
is the back of my bald head.
Do you prefer, when it comes to like acting? Do you prefer voice acting or live action?
Absolutely, voice.
Yeah.
People, the people want you. When you do a good take, that's it. sometimes on acting, man, you'll do it like, oh man, I was so in the moment, I was so connected to my lines or something like that, and they go, oh man, a plane was going over, it was got to do it again. You got to be ready just to deliver, deliver, deliver,
Yeah.
deliver like that. And also a lot of it is hurry up and wait. You know, I did a movie called not I did a movie called Hackers. That's a different story. But what was the one with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones? Entrapment. Entrapment. And I'm like one of the computer guys when it's before the millennium, and the millennium, the computers all are supposed to like reboot right at midnight of the year 2000, right? And my big line is Sydney is shut down, or you know, ZQW complete, or something like that, you know. And they called us in on a Thursday to do that, and we ended up doing it Friday night. You know, it's like sat there all day because they were working on something else, and they go, okay, got to stay over another night, you know, and get up. And they go, well, makeup wants you at 8 a.m., so you got to get there. Your driver's going to pick you up from the hotel at 6, you know, and you get there, and then at midnight on the Friday or something, they film it, you know. So
Yeah.
it's hurry up and wait. So I always prefer voiceover. But as far as what's soul satisfying, most of the time, I prefer music, because it's when it's good, it's really good, you know, and it's like a group of guys all coming together. There's no egos involved. It's like everybody's becoming bigger than what they have to begin with. And
Yeah.
but that can happen in voiceover stuff too. This game I told you, or not a game, a cartoon called Robozuna, was before lockdown, and sometimes there would be 6 of us in the booth at the same time, and we'd be bouncing off each other. And I've never done The Simpsons, but I kind of imagine that's what it's like. Is you get the script beforehand, and the stuff I talked to you about before dubbing, the words are the words; they're not going to change. You
Yeah.
know, but in a top notch one where you're recording, you record your stuff, and then the animators do it to your intonation and to your voice pattern. You know,
Yeah.
so sometimes 5 or 6 of us would be in there, and we say, you know, just start making jokes about, yeah, it'd be funnier if I said this, I'll be said that, and they go, okay, change it to that. Yeah, that is funnier, that sort of thing. So it's more creative
Yeah.
when there's a few of you at it.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a specific line that you said in a game or a movie that's been quoted back at you a lot that people want you to say when you ever meet them? Is that something that you've?
Well, I was Tony the Tiger for Kellogg's Frosties.
Yeah. So I'm assuming
So
that would be.
that's the one. You know, they go,
Yeah.
they're great. Hey Tom, are things great? You know, yeah, they're great, man.
So why did you obviously you did that a long time ago?
That was 1998 or 9 through 2012, and that's when they outlawed animated characters selling sugary cereal to kids. Which as a
I
parent,
didn't even know that.
which as a parent I approved of it, but as a part of my income, I thought this sucks. This is not great. And I was on a cartoon session with I was sitting next to the Honey Monster, and across the table was the Nesquik Bunny, and I was saying, "We're out of work, man. What are we gonna do now?"
Would you say that even though it's like a very small role, just doing that, would you say that's your most noticeable role? Is Tony the Tiger?
Yeah, that's the one that's given me the most like popularity. But
Do you miss doing that?
no, I missed the paycheck though. Man, that was good.
I can imagine.
It was a proper gig. It was a proper gig. But you know what? It's just all part of the fun. And you know, it's like lockdown. You know, we thought everything was going to fall apart. I had one of the best jobs of my life during lockdown, financially. You know, it was for a game, and I wasn't doing the game. I was doing the commercials for the game. But
Right.
it when my agent told me what it paid, I said, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. And when I got the first
What
half
game was it?
for Candy Crush,
Oh, yeah. Okay, that
so it
makes
was
sense. Then.
the promotion for Candy Crush
Yeah.
in various parts of the world, and it was ridiculous for me. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Saved the day, absolutely saved the day, because all the live music stuff was gone. You know, I had gigs lined up and nobody was playing anymore, But I just love the way that humanity, the good side of humanity, deals with things. And the fact that if it hadn't been for lockdown, you and I probably wouldn't be talking right now
Oh, really? Why?
because I don't think there would have been Zoom.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't think this ability just to get somebody like that and get online. And I did a documentary a few days ago, and it was for a company that's based in London and uh, Los Angeles, but also China.
Yeah.
And it was going, there were messages going ping, 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 ping. And I got somebody here directing me, and I've got the video playing on here, and it's just, man, the technology is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like, like what you mentioned with how far we've come with technology, sometimes it is amazing, like, the way that like AI has come about and all the stuff that can do to like trivialize things that that you might struggle with. You might have a problem that you can just hop on, ask it a question, and it can usually figure it out. But I
Yeah,
also feel like all the things that have happened is a detriment to, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's
that's for sure.
it can
Because it's
be
it's getting
horrible.
it's getting its information from humans, man.
Yeah.
And there's some crazy humans out there.
But AI is going to turn on us eventually and destroy the world,
You
probably.
may be right, man. Or if we don't do it first.
Well, with the way it's going at the minute, it probably would be us.
If we don't do it first,
Um,
man, all it takes is a couple of rogue robots, man.
it's
Now,
going to
remember
the
when
Terminator.
iRobot came out? Will Smith, iRobot. Everybody thought, "Oh, this is so far fetched, man. It's
Yeah,
so far fetched." And then you see some of these. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to start talking about that.
yeah. We don't want to upset the population that's going to be
Yeah,
watching. One thing I did want to mention is obviously being an actor or a voice actor and stuff like that. And like you said, doing music is more financially stable. I guess being an actor and a voice actor, you never like unless you have like a long return like, a recurring role like on like a TV show or something. You're never set for. So it's hard
no,
to
but
like
the security. I mean, I've raised 4 kids.
yeah
Um, on my own. I mean, my wife worked for a while, and then after she passed away, I've been a single dad. Since they're all grown up now. They're 26 to 36 years old. But my youngest was 11 when she passed away, and my daughter was 13, and then my son's 17 and 21. And I've been able to raise them mainly because of voiceovers. I mean, I
yeah
never would have been able to have the stability, and also the fact that I didn't have to go on the road. Because I know musicians that their family falls apart because they get a gig. They've got a tour for 6 months, and something happens, and it's Uncle Dad's home, that sort of thing. That vibe. So I'm really blessed, But if I hadn't gotten into voiceovers, my life would have been completely different. So it's just the universe has been good to me, man.
yeah. I guess it's like what people say about it takes skill or there is a way to do things like I don't know like YouTube or streaming things like that. But in the end, when you really do think about it, it's just luck. Like I've seen people with no production value. They they seem to be very boring stuff like that, but people will watch them, and then they get loads of money. And again, it's just luck. I do think that is in turn how things work. So I guess in a sense as well, obviously with voice acting, you do need to be good at what you do. Um, but whether you get a role or not is luck, and whether you get reached out to or stuff like that to do a role, it's also luck as well. So I do think that I do
What do they
like to
call it?
think that
Luck coupled with not readiness. What's the other thing? It's like you got to be ready. Like if you're in the right place at the right time, you got to be ready to do what the job needs
yeah
at that moment. So preparation, luck and preparation. That's the deal.
yeah
But
because
also I try to, people talk about, it's like you can't see what's going on. Um, the a book that I read a lot talks about the prosaic iron girder. You know, if you think about iron, these big iron uh, beams that are in, you know, the holding the house up and stuff, they're not solid, man. They're what? It's like that atoms swirling around. You know, everything around us is alive, man. And so for me to try to limit this world to everything that I see, you know, is and I'm not gonna I can't I wish I could tell you about the job I had last week, the way it happened. It was serendipity. And
Do you
and
mean the documentary?
yeah,
Yeah,
you know, because it's I probably can't say too much about it, but the everything lined up. Everything lined up. And so if I want to think that's luck as far, or do I want to think it's the universe taking care of me because I'm heading in the right direction? And it's just like you keep heading into the light, you got more of a chance to be open to things that are going to come your way if you're alert enough to see it. Instead of
yeah,
going, oh, I'm lucky I got that. So no, man, I was headed that way, and there were different options coming towards me. These people saw me, they like what I'm doing, and here we go.
yeah,
You know, so it's a I think it's a positive thing.
yeah.
And it
I do.
and I say I used to say, because I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict. I've been sober since 1980. And I used to say, well, I'm lucky to be alive, man. All the car wrecks I was in, the way in those bad places I went. I'm blessed to be alive. And that was the other thing I was going to talk to you about too, you know, is the you know, it's a good on you for keeping our appointment today and not listening to your brain telling you, oh, this, oh, that. You know, it's like coming out of addiction, I have to deal with that all the time. But
Yeah,
I've learned techniques, and also I believe that just like I can't see what makes everything around me, that there is some sort of a universal um, power of good that's in
yeah,
every living thing, and that's part of me. So that part of me is perfect. I will never be perfect because the self is involved that, but I'm either in self or I'm in spirit, you know, and it bounces back and forth all the time. So I'm either talking from my ego or I'm talking from some experience, strength, and hope that I've gotten in my past, sort of a
yeah,
thing. And that's what keeps me moving forward, man.
yeah. I do think that that resonates as well because, like I said, what I've been going through the past 4 months is it's like, even though I felt like I was dying, that's why I ended up going to the hospital when I did because I thought that I was gonna die. It's a case of your brain is evil and it can dictate anything about how you feel. You know, you could have this thing where like maybe you think that you're going to feel sick. You would feel sick because your brain would make you feel sick.
Yeah.
Your brain plays tricks, and for me it was like it was eye opening to put myself into that position where I knew I had to do something, find out to stop my brain from overworking. Um, and it's like things will always work out in the end. Maybe not for some because obviously you know there is some serious things that can happen to you, but things will you know most of the time will always you know work out. And that's the
Yeah.
way I like to look at it. Is even if you have like a bad time, like what I've been through this past 4 months, it's opened my eyes to so many things that I want to do now because I felt like before then I was taking my life for granted in a way that now I don't want to. So I want to be able to do things like I do want to go and maybe do this charity speedrun thing in person because they do it in America in person. I'd like to go there and do it myself.
Yeah, man.
Whereas before I couldn't even imagine wanting to do that. So you know I do get what you're saying when it comes to that. Um,
I had to one point, you know, because I can remember thinking like my brain was evil or something like that because I wasn't going to drink no matter what, but my evil brain made me buy that beer, you know, something
yeah,
like that. But actually, my brain was untrained, and my brain wasn't trained to think of the opposite of what's bad for me, to think of what's good for me.
yeah,
And the brain, Tony Robbins said it. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's like this self-help guru, Tony Robbins. He says the brain is great for solving problems, therefore is always looking for one.
yeah,
And the heart is looking for connection, you know? So if my brain it keeps telling me something detrimental about myself and I go down to my heart and I think, "Ah, what do you think about that?" I have a chance of connecting with my higher power through that. And he'll say, don't listen to that guy, man. Run the whole scenario over in your head and do the opposite. So what's the opposite of fear is courage. So what if I was courageous right now? And NLP, that neuro-linguistic programming, that Tony Robbins is into that too. I used to take a comedy class from a guy and say, man, I always suck when I do this or something like that. And he goes, well, what would it be like if you didn't suck? And I go, well, then I would be blah, blah, blah. I'm going to close this door. Hold on.
Okay.
So, yeah. And, we've got neurological pathways in our head that keep leading us to our self-diagnosed symptoms of, oh, I'm just depressive, and there's neurological pathways in my head keep taking, or I feel sorry for myself quite a bit, my neurological, or I get pissed off at people, for justified resentments, and therefore I can find everything else that's wrong with everything. I'm the chief critic of the world, but there's also neurological pathways in my heart.
Yeah.
And as part of my recovery, where I had to forgive everybody that had ever done me any wrong in my life so that I could be free of that and move forward. I came from an alcoholic family, so my parents, were right on the main blame list for how I turned out, right? But when I put my hand down here and I thought of my dad and my mom down here, my head kept taking it back. I kept reliving the horrors of my childhood and then filling up full of those negative chemicals, the adrenaline and the cortisol and all that. But when I went down here, I saw them as little kids. I saw things that they were brought up in the 50s and through some tough times, and I saw things that had happened to them, and I was able to not condone their behavior, but to just let it go.
Yeah.
And also we got in our stomach, man, in our guts, we've got neurological pathways. So I had a gut feeling that was going to happen. What's that all about?
Yeah.
And so we're interesting little creatures, man.
It's annoying though, because it's like what you just said is perfect for me, because of you try and self-diagnose, or you feel a symptom and then you spiral about that. And for me, what started my problem was the vertigo. So I was having spells of vertigo for a couple of days every few months, and then it was getting more gradual. Yeah. And it's so funny to think about it now, because when at the start of those 4 months I went really ill with it. It sent me in a massive panic attack, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't even stand up. And obviously for those 4 months it was cycling. I would calm down a bit, and then I would panic because I'd feel a bit of a feeling, I'd panic, and then it would keep going around. And then it got to a point where, like I said, I felt like I was dying. And it's so funny that since I had the results for that MRI scan, I barely had vertigo at all, and that was 3 weeks ago. And that just tells me that those symptoms. So obviously, I do have the tinnitus and the other things that come with what I was feeling, but the actual vertigo, which was the main problem as to why I felt the way I did and I needed help, has gone. And I was told that it's probably your anxiety and all this, but I didn't want to believe it, because my brain was telling me you have something wrong inside your brain. And it's crazy that if you have yourself together, it's easy to live. But when you overthink and you worry and you're one of those types of people, it's very difficult to live, because every little thing makes you worry. And for me, it was the symptoms. So if I would feel sick, I would panic, and then because I was panicking, it would elevate the symptoms that I was having already sky high.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt like I was let down by the medical system, the NHS, because I was given. So when I went to the doctor's originally, I had to go in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk, and I was given a massive dose of diazepam, and I wasn't told how to use it properly. So when I got the prescription, it said take 3 tablets a day every day. So I did, and I went through 2 or 3 boxes of diazepam in 3 weeks. And when I ran out, I wasn't allowed anymore because it's a controlled drug, and that's when everything went downhill, because I didn't know what it was, but I went into diazepam withdrawal.
Yeah.
So all the symptoms that I was having previously were 10 times worse, and that's why I felt like I was dying.
Wow.
And obviously, when I finally found out that was why it was happening, I calmed down. because my brain knew, okay, well, you feel that way because of that, because the diazepam helped. It's the best thing that I've ever used in my life. It's the only thing that I've ever taken that's helped my anxiety, because I would take it and I'd instantly feel better. So for me, I don't want to be relying on medication just to make myself feel better. And it's funny that the reason why I felt worse the past week, regardless of the vertigo, I was having these whooshing feelings in my ears.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why, and it would keep it intermittently happening along with the tinnitus. And then I noticed yesterday that it would happen when I moved my eyes. So I'd look to the left like that, or look to the like that, and I'd get that feeling. And I'm so stupid, because I was taking sertraline for my anxiety, and I wanted to try and slow down on it, and I hadn't taken it for over a week. I didn't realize that the symptoms of not taking sertraline is something called brain zaps, which is what that is. And it's also like flu-like symptoms and stuff like that. So last night I took a sertraline again. I took one today, and it's not there. Because it's crazy to me to think that medication causes more problems than it helps. Like, I wouldn't have had that issue with the diazepam or that if I wasn't taking it. And that's why for years I wanted to get better on my own without medication. I did. I even went to a concert. I went to, and I did all these things. And then when the vertigo started happening, I went backwards, because I didn't know why that was happening. I knew it was the thing that was there. But because it would intermittently happen every few months, I wouldn't panic about it, because I'd forget. And then when it happened, I would start to panic again. And it's all part of the brain. Everything is tied to, that. And I was coming from a background where I'd think everything was serious. I'd get the vertigo, the dizziness, and I'd instantly go to brain tumor, because my brain would think the worst possible outcome of everything that happens. So I had that in my head, that I had that for years. If I'd have looked up vertigo and stuff straight away, I wouldn't have felt that way, because there's so many things that can cause it that aren't serious. Like to do with your neck and your inner ear and stress. And my stress was through the roof. Stress can cause it and stuff like that. So it's just crazy that to be able to sit with you and do this conversation now after everything that I've been through.
Man. I got to get going pretty quick though. You got any questions we didn't get to yet?
So there isn't really any question that I had specifically, but I did have something that I wanted to ask you after we stopped the recording, just quickly as well.
Okay, you want to sign us off, and then
we can sign off. Yeah. So thank you so much for talking to me about Blade and your career. It's been a pleasure. Like, I've loved to listen to those stories and stuff like that, and obviously all the things that you've done. Carl Fairburn from Sniper Elite is up there. And yeah, just thank you for taking your time to talk to me. I know you must be a busy guy doing all these crazy voiceovers that you've done over the years. So it's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me, Matt. And good luck with your channel and your speed gaming.
Thanks, man.
All right, so stop.